Relax. Don't sub it. Don't sub it. EQ it. Relax. Sub bass it. When to EQ it. Relax. Don't do it. When you want to EQ it. When you want to boom. When you want to boom. Yeah, I'm just relaxing today. Bloody hell, I was in that room. What was it? 10, almost 10? No, a bit more than that. I was in there maybe about 11 hours yesterday. Into early hour this morning, I think. I can't remember. Oh, so, every time, this subwoofer thing comes up. This subwoofer, EQ the sub. It's not like, say, you seal the room all around and then you get I'd have to look up what the actual name is for the equipment, but basically you just pump in air into the room, so it goes up to a certain psi, pounds per square inch, and then that pressure or whatever is just going to be completely equal all around the room, no matter what. As to what frequency it would be, I have no idea. I've never been inside a decompression chamber before, so I wouldn't have a clue. I've been in one that's kind of in a movie, like The Abyss, but that's a fantasy. That's fantasy, and the actors and all that, they're just told to, this is how you would react, and they just act it out like they're in a decompression chamber. So you got pressure that's completely equal all around you, and you feel it on your ears. You feel it, the pressure very gently. It's pushing your eardrum slightly inward, and then you push that way to kind of push it the opposite way, because of the pressure. And if the pressure were to increase, then that membrane, that little membrane on the ear is very fragile. So it's like people that talk about pressurizing the room. Pressurizing it at what? I mean, I've walked around the room and I've had a sine wave playing infrasonic low frequency, and the tone tends to stay more or less the same pressure. There will be slight variances, because the room is a room. It's a boundary. It's a oblong, square. Maybe you can make a triangle room, maybe a circular room. That's not impossible. There are some architectural designs where a room is circular, cylindrical, or whatever else you tickles your fancy that you think is going to solve some of this chasing the sub bass thing, which is generally, at the end of the day, it's an ego thing. Everyone's chasing it. They want to get this result. They want to get that result. They want to be the best one around, and it's just chasing it for an ego. Using single microphones is not easy. All this, some of this procedure stuff that some home theaters only follow because manufacturers provided them with a single microphone and all that, and they got all this so-called advanced equalizer stuff. It's they give them all different names, and they say it does this, that it's looking for this, it's looking for 3-dimensional this and that. if you were to design a computer CAD program and design the shape of your room, so you kind of right, oh gosh, right down to the millimeter, um, and then you put the speakers, and then you got to like, well, the CAD design and program has got to be able to determine the type of speaker, the type of size of enclosure, the driver, all the parameters. Um, but once you've fed all that information into the computer, it's still at the end of the day, it's only going to be able to give you a kind of rule of thumb sort of result of what mm, what may be in the frequency sweep result. I mean, most people don't test their subs. I can't. I can't just pick mine out of the room and just just go down the stairs and pop them outside. It's not that. It is not that easy. It's not if it's impossible. I just don't have any assistance to, so you test outside because there are less boundaries, and then you test the frequency response. You test it up to the maximum that you think you want it to be allowed to go to. Um, and you look at the results, and you could have all that data, and then you look at it and then think, should we equalize this a little bit and this a little bit, because it still wouldn't be following the exact frequency curve of the amplifier, because the amplifier would be following this curve, and the sub is going to be going a little bit similar, but it's going to have a little bit up and down minor, even if it's tested outside. It's still going to have a little bit thing, and it's still like, it's still a little bit off key, and that needs to be equalized until it looks like similar to the electronical on the amplifier. Because the amplifier's job at the end of the day is just to produce a current, and then flow of signal to go out to the subdriver, as well as um, what does the frequency response look like within the enclosure box, because the enclosure box is also going to be a factor. What does that look like in the corners, the middle of the sub? So you place microphones inside the sub enclosure box to take measurement data, and then you could, whether it's any beneficial use, then you could use it to determine that uh, a problem that might be when the sub goes back in the room. The result of the frequency sweep and all that, you do it again, compare it with the outside one with the equalizing correction, and then you see, oh, there's a little bit more going on. And that's the room emphasizing and adding, and some with subtracting, with dips, voids in the signal. Where are those voids occurring? I mean, you could, if the room is pretty much empty, and you move the sub literally around the room, and I mean literally along the floor, raise it up off the floor, move it around, put it pretty near close to the ceiling as it would go, and just literally just move it around, because REW, yeah, though it's kind of okay accurate, it shows that you're going to have this typical, because of through research and everything, and it will show these results in dips, dips and such, and if you increase your room size or increase the room size on the Roomy simulator, the results in the frequency, um, you know, smoothness and that, it changes. And you think, oh gosh, if I had a room that size, but you don't. We don't. You could go a bit more greater than the cinema because a cinema is going to have a similar. But you look at, say, if you could get the measurements of a typical cinema that you go to and put those room size is into the room simulator, and you compare it with your home, and then you've seen a film there or something, and you think, you know, that sub arrays are usually all up in the front behind the screen, and the auditoriums are so a lot more greater size in volume than our typical home. I mean, I could fit my room in a auditorium downtown. How many times? Yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, so it's like the way I think is just using multiple microphones and just placed around the room, have it all feeding into the XLR on the mixing console, and then set pan pots to the left and some pan pots to the right. So if microphones over to the left, some over to the right of the room, send the pan pot to the left, send it to the right. If the microphones are more or less in the middle of the room, but spread apart a little bit, maybe set the pan pot a little bit this way and then the other pan pot a little bit the other way, sort of thing. And then once all those microphones are set, and then playing some sine wave tones and ugh, going through the sine wave tones one at a time, and analyzing the results on the microphones. So I'll have the faders. The faders will all be set to maximum level, and then I'll set the gain levels on the microphones, so they'll be set at certain levels because I know that the microphone's nearer to the front, near to where the subs are located. The energy is going to be more greater there, so I just probably want to reduce it down a little bit, and then balance the mic, and then all I then have to do then, if I want to check the sine wave tones within the room, how they are being picked up and measured on the RTA, on the Room EQ Wizard's RTA response, on A and B. So I'd have two RTAs on the computer, so one for left, one for right, so I can analyze the differences in the wave, the frequency, it'd be just a tone, or I could use the RTAs, which will show like a curve hump, and then I can then probably, if I want to, I can maybe add another sine wave, a multi sine wave tones. So they're all generated and they'll sound like a and they'll be pretty steady state. They might kind of wobble a little bit, but pretty steady. Unlike pink noise, which would be kind of wobbling a little bit. And I'll just analyze looking at that, and it's a little bit more than that. It's a lot more than just looking at the result of, it's how it feels and where is it being felt. I mean, if the floor is concrete, the energy coming from those subs is not going to really do substantial big time vibrate. It's not going to break the concrete apart unless you have a major earthquake and then the whole building just gets ripped to pieces. That's the purpose of an earthquake. A sub, no, just depends. It depends what you're messing around with, but have a little laboratory box or such, a transparent box. You put a microphone or a speaker thing inside it, and you put a wine glass in it, and then you start messing around with higher frequencies and then oscillating the tone until the glass just breaks. You know, um, but I don't think you want to go that far in sub bass levels. Otherwise, it's not going to be very enjoyable. Um, yeah, so you got to look at how where microphones are placed in the room, and there's still like there's seating, and those bass frequencies interact with the seating. It's not just what you feel sometimes. You could stand, maybe say empty room, and you got the subs in it, and you could just stand in the middle of the room. How much of it can you actually feel? You know, chest, your body, your legs, you name it. Because we should all know by now how we are designed, how we are made. Um, you want what you're going to mostly notice is you're going to notice more of the sound of the sub on your ears, and you think, I'm not noticing much else, but there's a little trick. There's a little teeny trick here. You could put earplugs in, and those earplugs then will do a filtering effect, like a crossover. Will do a little filtering effect, and then if you know what to look for, what to listen for, and what to feel for, then you might notice something very mild that you can sense on your body, or the energy, because it's going to move. It's going to pass through you and such, pass through us. Um, it's a little bit hard to prove that fact. Um, Unless, of course, you want to go literally a little bit fucking stupid. Um, though I would recommend you probably consult a doctor, or maybe get some, medical guys to maybe assist in the very crazy test where you can swallow a microphone, but you'd probably have to be put under sedation, because if you try anything like, you'll probably start vomiting and have freak out or something. But then you place something so it goes down, and then you put the sine wave tones out, yeah, and then you can see how much is picked up inside. You get your result. You take the microphone out, tap tap tap, wake up. Okay, test is done. We've done it. Okay, here's the result. um Otherwise, you could do there is another way around it. There is another way. You could put a microphone, maybe in a bag of water or something, a bag of water, or some liquid gel or something, um, and then do a and B test in the frequency sweep to see what the results look like, because there is a lot to this. There is a lot of it. I imagine in the days of THX, I imagine they had probably some secret tests that they might have done. That's my theory. That's my theory on THX. Because, well, I don't know. Maybe High Wycombe. Yeah, it's High Wycombe was totally torn up. Um, Almost about 23 years ago. Um, so it's no longer what it once was. Still the same building, it's still the same, but the auditorium, actual design and everything, has been completely revamped. and everything that once was in that THX auditorium, which was really by far state of the light year out of this world art. I mean that was really sussed out pretty well. In any case, sometimes there might be something more going on. So you got some sub bass to produce some frequencies that are a little bit airborne, and the other part is through transducers to create a little bit more of the mechanical vibration, because that's how we perceive it in the real world. You travel in a vehicle, you hear a bass sound, a mid range, you hear a frequency sound on your ears acoustically, and you're feeling mechanical vibration. A sub, as it is only going to produce so much loudness that you hear acoustically, and very little that might be mechanical, but that mechanical something might be going elsewhere. And then your neighbors bitching and fucking whining and moaning, because they're noticing something, because of the way of the where it's placed in the room and the structure of the building and all that, and how it's traveling. Because if anyone knows, when you get the two cups, with a string and you pull them tight, can you hear me? Can you hear me? And then the sound waves just travel through it. And if you were to decouple that, cut it in half, there's no signal going to get through. Um, Same with any other materials, wood, metal, it would all transmit through that material. I know there's a lot of people clicking on and watching me and clicking off, and they probably don't fucking stand what the fuck I'm talking about. That's your loss. Because it's a little bit more than just fucking listening to a fucking sub bass speaker, and then just think you got everything else playing in the room. You got the other speakers playing, and so on and so on. And what does that all produce and cause at the end of the day? Frequency masking effect. And it's trying to sort of like get all that to work like a team, so it doesn't have too much competing against the other. LFE signals, that's only used as and when in a soundtrack. It's never used all the time. Unless, of course, it depends on some crackiest bloody director. Depending on, and it should be mixed and should complement with the stage channels or the surrounds. The surrounds over the last many decades have increased their frequency range to go down just a little lower, a little bit higher sometimes. Oh yeah, sometimes they can even outweigh the LFE, the sub bass, because they're signal. But it depends on what speakers you got. If your speakers are not compatibly up to handling it, then you got to add on separate sub bass. Never should you dump really the bass from all the other channels on top of the LFE. You should never do that. Otherwise, you create audio masking, and you would never know as and when you can brag about your home theater. Oh, the LFE's doing this. You wouldn't be able to tell. It's audio masking effect. I know one home theater, that guy with his 20 sub bass in his basement and all, he's doing the same thing, and he wouldn't be able to tell when the LFE is actually active because he's creating too much masking effect. So yeah, it's quite a bit to it. And how a sub bass box sounds, and the enclosure box and all that. versus another. I'm talking cinema ones here. I'm not talking about home little tiny home theater speaker blooming things. They're not even worth the time. Not worth my time. Because I've been there. I've had those little things, and they're just not really the real deal. They're just a waste of time. They're okay, but they're just a waste of time for when you want to get really into it. Um, so it's like you look at that, say, different cinema enclosure boxes. Um, some of the sub boxes made sometimes maybe a proportion volume size larger than the stage channel boxes, but that doesn't mean the stage channel boxes are not good, because sometimes you might have dual bass cabs. So instead of just two 15s, you got four 15s. So go for the left, the left center, right, going across the five screen. So you got 20 15s, and your HF horns and such. And then you got the subs. Well, the sub is just a crossover frequency, and then we just call it a sub. Otherwise, the box enclosure, that could be used for a sub, can also be used for a full range, because it's still got the capability to go it up to and then you put a crossover at maybe about typical 500 hertz, or maybe a 400, or maybe you want to go 300. It depends on then how you're going to tune the HF horns and such. So to minimize, certain things. But sometimes a sub bass box itself, it's got its own sound, depending on, I suppose, the bracing, to make it so it doesn't resonate when you're tapping. When you're tapping on it, it doesn't make that sort of resonant sound. I've read rumors that if you were to stuff the enclosure with pillows or a duvet, it can give the impression to the sub that it's slightly larger. Hmm. Hmm. Slightly larger. Larger in what? And in what way would there be some trade on and trade off? Hmm. I suppose there's only one way to determine. It's just to buy a duvet and yeah, and open up the box, stuff it inside, and then put the driver back inside. So you do A and B frequency sweeps. Well, actually, more than that, A, B, C, and D, or maybe F. Yeah, you never know, because you might want to put a microphone inside the enclosure. Okay, take a frequency sweep without the duvet, then stuff the duvet in there with the microphone, and then take another frequency sweep just to see what results have changed, as well as on the outside. So you got a microphone on the outside to also give you a result, and a microphone placed elsewhere and multiple microphones placed elsewhere in the room to give you more result on the finding, to see whether there's any truth to it, or if it's just someone just having a bit of fun and saying, yeah, maybe if you stuff get a sacrilegious sacrificed chicken, and you stick it inside your sub bass box, and it's going to make it boom out like KF fucking C, um, kilowatts, frequency, um, whatever, fucking yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it'd do that. That- That's just wrong, isn't it? Just don't do that to an animal. You don't do that to a chicken. Anyway, be like someone say, put a lemon inside, and increase your It will get rid of frequency nulls in your room. Oh, wouldn't that be great if that was so true? Um, but it's what the walls in your room, your surfaces, your boundaries are all made of. You know, you're going to have weak spots in the room where the bass frequencies are going to pass through it. You could put like I say, with multiple microphones with a mixed console. Um, very cheap. You can easily plug in up to 24 microphones and have those microphones placed elsewhere around outside the room. And you close the door and that and just see what bass frequencies are getting out of the room. Put a microphone, if you've got a window in the room, put a microphone on the outside and get a frequency result and see. Then you know that there's frequency sound passing out through, because you can obviously hear sound from outside sometimes, vehicles, airplanes, and it just passes through the window, which is one of the weakest links and such. And it might be that's where it's causing some issues with frequency nulls. Um, oh, there's dozens of things on my mind that I could just literally think, you know. But at the end of the day, bass shakers, they're very inexpensive and they give some good satisfactory result. Um, so as well as the energy that they give is kind of more uniform, whereas the energy you're getting from the sub is kind of a little bit. Well, I'm just trying to give an example with my fingers. It's like the energy there is with the bass shaker. Yeah, it's all doing that. It's all doing that, and the energy you get from the sub is kind of like this. So you're getting some dips, and you're only getting some peaks. And so there's a heck of a lot that's just been totally wasted. And you could throw it with stupid amount of kilowatt, and you're still going to end up with this sort of poor result. And yet you put a bass shaker in, how the bass shakers are fitted, tested, rigorously tested, so that and not just bass shakers on the seat. Bass shakers really, they got to be fitted within the flooring. So and the seating. So mostly within the flooring, an array, quite a bit of an array. So when you step in the room, you're on the surface and you feel it. You can hear this tone coming from somewhere. It's not as if it's trying to cheat and say, oh, a sub, oh, your sub is crap. And, everybody's sub is crap, including mine. All your subs out there are complete garbage. But it's like when I test the real world versus the fantasy of crappy bloody movies like bloody Dune 2 and all that nonsense. I could go a little bit more into bloody Dune 2, how bloody flawed and how everything is there. The moment a bus is coming along, I'm standing outside. I hear the tone. I don't feel it. I hear the tone. The moment I put my first foot on the bus, I feel mechanical vibration. And of course, I put my second foot on and I feel a bit more mechanical vibration of the bus just idling, humming, because it's just reverberating through the entire whole frame of the bus where the engine is located at the back, and that energy is just creating mechanical vibration at a certain frequency. And then, of course, when the vehicle's moving, you get a bit more mechanical vibration. But the tone bass that you hear, or the frequency sound that we hear, it doesn't hurt our ears. It's not like a stupid bloody Doom 2 bloody soundtrack in someone's stupid basement with 20 subs and he wants to play it up to 150 dB. And that's just completely bloody unrealistic and stupid. Yeah, stupid, because it's just going to damage your hearing. We've only got a threshold, and the threshold is fragile. Once you go over it and damage that threshold, it's irreversible. That's it. So it's better to play safe than win stupid prizes. And the same goes with reality. It's there's lots of things on my mind, lots and lots and lots of things that some things that I've videos I've watched of science and this and that, and other people telling me about this and that, and this would occur, and I'm thinking, good God, whoa, that's scary. Um, like explosions and stuff. Those things are so sudden, and depending on how near or close or what, the result, whatever. Anyway, explosions in movies, they're not, they're not real. They're not real. They're just otherwise, a real explosion would be very sudden. It would be over in just a few seconds, and depending on, well, I suppose the amount of explosive and that, and the amount of shockwave that it throws out, and you probably feel this very mild but sudden jolt of vibration, and then it just dissipates, decays, fades out. Um, but if it's boom, 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 and yeah, it's always all these boom, boom, booms and explosions in movies. Where are they usually? Typically, they're usually down at a certain frequency range. Um, mm, yeah, yeah, it's analyzing it. You've got to analyze it. Um, oh, there's so many things on my mind. Maybe using multi-tone for sub bass. So like I say, you look at all the sine wave tone on all the microphones. You can fade down on the mixing console. So you want to monitor the ones at the back to see what the frequency there is like. Um, it's where also you place the microphones, because if we move around, if we go down or if we go up, the tone and the frequency changes, and you can move forward slightly and then go down again and then go up, and then the frequency might stay more or less stable. It's completely oof. And you think, how the wavelength is coming out and it's going up and down, because like on an oscilloscope, you see the tone, the frequency, it's producing a wave, and then you go down a little bit lower in frequency, and then that waveform on the oscilloscope goes from that shape, and then it goes a bit more this shape, because it's going more down into lower, longer wavelengths, which are greater than your room. And then they get down very down to the single digits, where it's longer than your neighborhood. um, that doesn't mean you can't still enjoy it, I suppose, but to what degree? Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't personally really know. I mean, 5 hertz sine wave. I don't really actually really. I think I notice or perceive that on a daily day basis. Maybe, but maybe. Just maybe. Hmm. Yes. I think so. Yes. Depends. What you're doing. Like press gently on your tummy, and you feel something. But can anyone else hear it? No, because the amplitude or whatever's been there is incredibly soft and low. Um, I just see all these sub-based people, all these integrators, and all these. I look at all these specs and all this, and yeah, where's the rest of the result? Because if they got some team, then obviously they could produce a little bit more data in their result. That you're going to get this effect, blah 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 blah. Oh yeah, okay. And then you look at the price of the sub. I looked at a price of a sub the other day. I'm not sure if I'm misreading the price. Is it 17,000 or 170,000? If it's 170,000, no fucking way. You gotta be stoned out your fucking mind to buy a stupid 60-inch sub at that fucking price. Because you think that's more than your fucking car. What else can it fucking do? Can it make microwave fucking popcorn? They put them stupid high prices because they think stupid people out there think, oh, it's luxury. It isn't luxury. If you want fucking luxury, go and listen to the real thing. Do the fucking real thing. It outweighs your stupid home theater and your sub bass speaker at the end of the day. End of story. No if, no but, no debate, no voting on it. It completely outweighs it. And you think, fucking hell, you watch these movies sometimes and you see these things going on, and you think, yeah, why am I not getting that sort of vibration? I can hear the sound. I know it's probably maybe in the soundtrack. Maybe I'll tune the soundtrack different for the playback reproduction within the room. Um, because that's often what they may do in THX cinemas and tune it specifically. They know the film is going to be booked in and it's going to play for a certain amount of weeks. And so it's going to be tuned to fit the room. And then so when you go and see it and hear it, you're feeling it and you're listening to the details and think, wow, I just saw the same movie in another cinema and it was nothing like this. Mm. Mm. Just waiting. I'm just going to pause for a sec. I'm just going to have an intermission. Mm. Mm. Oh, okay. Those are both okay. They're packed together. Okay. It's not that time yet. Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, time delays and such. All this time delays with subs, phase alignment, polarity. Yeah, get it right, everybody. There's usually three things. You got polarity, reverse polarity. Typically, um, when you do that electronically, theoretically, I think the sub should be going in the opposite direction, or the driver cone would be going in the opposite direction rather than going forward. Um, you could test that easily with a battery. You know, if you're wiring things up and things, and you're not too sure that you know the polarity is correct, you could test the wiring on the amplifier and just make sure, because you might get the positive and negative thing reversed back to front. You know, you need sufficient light maybe sometimes when you're wiring. So usually they used to color wires a little bit easily so you can see them, but sometimes they put little other symbols or such on one part of the cable. And you just got to make sure that that's matching to the speaker, the passive sub. I don't agree that. I think active subs and all, but the active subs is just an amplifier plate fitted into the enclosure box. There's another thing there in the testing with like amplifier plates on subs. Just because they all look identical, and maybe the volume dial is variable, so it's not going like click, 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 click. And even if it goes click, 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 I would still test it on the outputs of the amplifier. So you put a sine wave tone in all the amplifiers, and you go through them one by one by one. You know where the volume dial's set at. It's going to produce a certain voltage. Then you check it through I wouldn't just go and get a dummy load. I would just go on eBay and look for a cinema booth monitor, because that way then you can connect it to that booth monitor, connect it to the computer without blowing your fucking computer to smithereens. And then you can check to see whether the outputs on those amplifiers are exactly the same level. If they're not, then you might have an additional setting in the DSP where you can make a tiny adjustment in 0.1 dB steps and then just adjust it slightly until all the levels are exactly the same. Okay, that's one step. But then you got many more steps when you test the sub. You can have the microphone very close to each sub, but you got to make sure the microphones are leveled, adjusted. So the way you would do that is you put two microphones near one sub, two of them, and then level match them until they are equally the same, given the output on the RTA. And then you put the other microphone near the other sub, and that one near this other sub. So boom, 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 yeah. Then you test the subs, and then there might be some slight difference again, because not all sub bass drivers, like I say, not all speakers are equal. They look the same, but maybe they're not going to be producing exactly spot on the frequency. It'll be just a tiny trifle, mind you, but hey, this is precision work, isn't it? But then there's also, you test the driver again, the drivers with a voltmeter to check the impedance, and then you notice that the impedances are slightly different on the drivers. If you were to push your finger gently on the driver, you can see the impedance changing. And if you do the reverse by putting your fingers underneath the bass driver and pushing it gently upward, again, you will see an impedance change on the driver, because probably the way it's all set. And that changes the impedance. It's like a balance sort of thing. The materials are all probably, but it's just probably the way they're all. Everything should be constructed, and everything should look equally the same within. You shouldn't see huge drastic change in the impedance. Otherwise, they think, oh gosh, that's completely. I don't know how this is going to sound. How this is going to perform. You probably think, get another one test it, and you think, okay, that's within a tiny trifle, plus and minus. Um, there's all those results. And what about the enclosure boxes that are made for these, say, subs or active subs? All this SVS stuff and BMW and KEF and whatever else, Ascendo and all this other junk that's out there. Has that all been actually tested to see whether the enclosure boxes are absolutely the same volume? Hmm. Because even if they vary slightly by a few millimeter, they are going to give different result. I've learnt all this shit the hard way. It's tough, I know. And then when I'm telling it out here now, I suppose now you're all going to think, fuck, I'm going to test my substance to make sure the fucking same volume size. How the fuck do you test that? How the heck do you test it? It's not easy. You got to get inside with some very clever measurement equipment to make sure the enclosure's exactly the same. They should be the same. I mean, how do they produce all this shit today? Like cans, plastic bottles, plastic bottles. You look at them and you think they all look the same. Are they the same? I suppose one way is if you've got two plastic bottles, um, put them on a scale and weigh them. They should equal the same weight. If one's slightly different, and you think, I'll test that again, and you test it, and think, no, it's still giving the same. Then it's probably the dimension is slightly, yeah. Mm. I don't think you could test sub-bass speakers that way, could you? So they should all equal the same weight. Oh dear. Oh dear. Just so you can chase a sub bass, just because it's an ego thing at the end of the day. I was watching this guy's video. I don't know. I don't follow him too much because there's not too much science involved in his, you know. Same with everyone else on YouTube. I mean, if I wanted to get down to some sort of experiment, I don't think I would need to use my oscilloscope. Nah, I think I don't have to use that. I just use the microphones, the voltmeter. Um, yeah, and then also subs where they're placed. So if you've got an array of subs spread out like I have in my room, got one over there, one over here. I usually sit over to the near to the equipment rack, and so I'm over to the left side in the room. Although if I turn around, I'll be facing the opposite direction, and then it'll be on my right side. So this is what got me thinking. This is what got me thinking today when this guy was going on with his mini DSP, his mini DSP, and he's got all these he's got all these comments. I don't get many comments because most people are scared of me. They fear me. You all out there, you fear me because you think I'm going to bite your head off. You might be right. I might bite your head off. And I could just see ass kissers, they just like thinking, oh, this guy's great. He does great content. He's probably spent a few hours editing his video, and I could see slight little jumps in the editing. And I'm thinking, I can't stand videos like that on YouTube. I prefer it literally either live and raw, unedited, so that there is no bullshit, No bullshitting going on, in transparency. Keep everything transparent. Don't edit out something just because you want to think, oh, you want to shorten the video down. Otherwise, make the video fucking 10 fucking hours long. I don't give a fuck. I want to see result. I want to see some results going on here. That's only going to be applicable to that person's room. It won't be much benefit to my room, unless, of course, they say, try these techniques or such. It may work. Um, because it's always like we're going around trying to do this EQ thing blindfolded. If you're going to use a single microphone, you're going to get fucking less result. You put multiple, because that frequency, once that sound, pink noise, sine wave tone comes out from that sub bass speaker or speaker, it goes around that room at the speed of sound. Boom! Instant. You need microphones all over the show, as many as you can put, and then have all that information feeding into your room EQ wizard onto the computer screen so you can see what is going on. Because even if you use the room EQ wizard simulator, it's not going to show you everything. It's only a rule of thumb. And a rule of thumb sometimes is not too bad, because you think, yeah, this room has got a peak frequency about 35, 36 hertz. That's pretty accurate, but it doesn't know I've got a chimney breast. It doesn't know I've got windows over there or window behind the screen speakers. It doesn't know how thick my ceiling is. It doesn't know that I've got a pitched roof right above me. It doesn't know any of that. And bass is going to get out. It's going to come, and it's going to come back, and it's going to go back to the microphone. That is it. That's the whole live purpose of a microphone, is to pick up, receive. But you need more microphones around the room, because you can't be in the same position all the time. It's not possible. It's impossible. It's also impossible to equalize a room to be the same. It's not possible. It's always going to be complete. It's not like pumping in air pressure and it's going to be equal pressure all around the room. And what frequency is it? No. I just get really pissed off sometimes with all this. I've got a mixing console. I've got up to about 16 or 17 microphones at the moment. I was going to get up to about 24 microphones, and somehow that project kind of went. I think I lost my motivation with that project when I lost my cat Magic, and to me, at the end of the day, all this shit that you people out there seem to fucking care about, because you don't give a shit about. You only want to care about how I think, how I talk, how I rant, how I breathe it. That's all you fucking care. You don't give a shit about my fucking pets. Fucking hell, that's fucking dehumanizing, that is. You only give a shit about fucking electronics. I give less fuck about it now, because I've lost 2 cats. A soul, a character, a consciousness, And then I get, in return, I get a cat that's, I don't know, he's a bit senile now. He's a bit like depressed, and and whatever. And I've got a female cat that sometimes goes round bloody like a bat ass bloody fly on an invisible bloody scooter, trying to wreck the home in the same time. Yeah. I give more fucks about this tuning the sub than probably most other people would give a fuck about it. But what are you chasing out there? Are you chasing something that you heard in the cinema, heard, felt, or listened. It depends on what type of person you are. Do you hear it? Or are you listening? Or are you a THX listener? The audience is listening. That's the whole fucking purpose of the title thing on the fucking thing. Probably say, shut the fuck up, you fucking motherfucker behind me. I'm listening. Or the audience are listening. That's the purpose of that tone they play, the trailer. That is to demonstrate the ability of the sound system, that it's not going to break up, distort, make any other noises other than the soundtrack coming out from those, being reproduced by those JBL loudspeakers in the auditorium. It's not just there for, otherwise, what's the fucking Dolby Unfold thing supposed to be? I think that Dolby, I tell you, between fucking trailers, so like the loudest Dolby trailers, I think, are probably in the Dolby Atmos Unfold, and the second one would be the Dolby Atmos Canyon, where it's going boom, 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 and it's going through the can, whoo, woo, da, da, boom. That fucking hell, you need to turn the fader down on that motherfucker. It is too loud. But if the JBLs and all that are all tuned and tested, rigorously tested, and you play that and you think, there's no distortion, but you think, fucking hell, I don't hear African drums and all that music at that fucking level. They're down at this level. I don't hear it at this fucking level. What the fuck? That's one purpose of my fucking ranting there. But that Dolby Atmos Unfold, every time I hear that shit at the fucking local downtown, I have to, I just go, fucking hell, that is fucking loud. And I say it out loud so the audience can hear. Because obviously they must be fucking deaf. That trailer needs to be fucking turned down. It is too much. Because you think if you had bass shakers fitted in, if bass shakers were fitted in all the seats at the local, they would have good reason then to turn the volume down just a little bit, because you'd be feeling more the vibration and such. But the bass shaker thing, it's a lot more to it. It's a lot more. A lot of you out there have got no fucking comprehension of understanding on how bass and all that, how we perceive and feel it. So if I'm on a bus, I'm sat in the seat. But what if I lean over, my arm is resting against the side of the bus, near the window or something? I then feel a different extra bass vibration on this side of the shoulder. That is something home theatre and all this shit, blah, 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 blah. That is something it can't do. I'm totally aware of everything. And then, everyone's talking about fucking hell. And I can see what's going on in the image, and what the mixers are trying to think, what the director or the sound, the supervising editors and all this. Fucking hell. Sometimes they miss out detail. It's like they've thrown just about everything they can at it, but there's still some details, or some other details that are just not there. Dubbing stages are not really that sophisticated. I think they were probably maybe decades ago, but they've not changed that much. Dubbing stages have not really changed that much. You look at the design that you can look. I looked at so many pictures of Warner Brothers and all their dub stages, as well as Universal, I think Paramount. I think I've seen a few of them at Twickenham. That's where I got my surround speakers from, Twickenham Film Studio. Um, there's really not a whole lot that has changed, and yet they do that THX trailer decades ago. For so many years, motion picture loudspeakers haven't really changed that much. And now we introduce Lucasfilm are proud to introduce blah blah blah, and that's mostly reproduced through JBL loudspeakers in cinemas back then, because they were the first selected for the THX program, and then all the others want to get on then on then all the other loudspeaker company, manufacturer, amplifier companies, whatever, they want to get on the bandwagon. They want a piece of the action, um, so they can get their brand out there, and um, mm, you got face reality. At the end of the day, your home theater. I know my home theater is, it can do it, and you go to a local set, oh gosh, there's there is a bundle of time, research, testing that goes into all this. I mean, for me to find a cinema in the UK that's maybe something like the Empire Leicester Square, what it used to be, I don't know. I have no idea. I've got fucking zero nano fucking clue as to where in the UK there might be something that might be like similar. It's shame on the. I can't stand fucking IMAX corporate. I think they're a bunch of motherfuckers. They fucking wrecked the Empire Leicester Square. Fucking management. The CEO, was it Justin Ribbons or Ruben or whatever? Idiot. He sinks his own. It's like the ships in the early days or such. Well, what is the early days? When they used to set them on fire and sink them. You know, um, that's what he basically did to the Empire. He just set it on fire and just sunk it. Fucking idiot. Had a great architectural design that everybody liked, the George Cole 1960s architectural design. Everybody liked it. There wasn't anything right or wrong with it. It was brilliant. And the lighting scheme that went with it, the curtains, the tabs, the seating, it was class. It was class. It was spot on. And then it got fucking ruined in less than a few months and turned into a fucking Limax. The fucking auditorium divided in half. And they lose nearly I think maybe 200 or 300 of their seating capacity. Fucking idiots. Just so they can show two shitty movies, one screen in fucking Limax and the other in fucking Dolby Atmos. Does that make any fucking clue of fucking sense to anybody? Oh, you got these stupid arseholes out there like fucking IMAX. IMAX arse kissers. Build your fucking IMAX on the other side of the fucking fence. That's what they should do. That's what they should have done in Leicester Square. But you got people in Leicester Square, snobs most likely. Oh, there's an IMAX in. Oh, I don't have to travel down to the BFI anymore. What, you motherfucker? I know how big London is. I'm not fucking twit. It takes me on a coach 2 fucking hours to travel to fucking London. And you motherfuckers up there are moaning about fucking traveling a few miles. on a tube train. Fucking selfish. Because I've got no cinema. I've lost a cinema that I once liked because of selfish motherfuckers. Fucking politics and fucking cinema chains, really. It's not the first fucking time it's happened. A fucking nice auditorium gets fucking divided or it gets shut down, closed. That's it. It's home for the pigeons. Oh, how's this fucking, anyway, cinemas, their auditorium sizes and, the shape and the way they're constructed, you know. So when you get near to the back part of the auditorium, the ceiling height gets narrower. Therefore, it's not going to boom much. In a home, typically, it's going to boom at the front. You get to the middle of the room, there might be less boom, but it depends on what frequency sine wave tone is playing. Then you get a little bit more to the back of the room, and then you notice that that other typical sine wave tone that you heard at the front is booming in your bloody ears again. It sounds unnatural. Or maybe it is okay. It's just when you get more or less to the middle and that frequency just boosh goes down. And you can throw a big 60-inch arse bloody sub bass speaker in the room and you're still gonna get the same result. Poof! You gotta put two of those motherfuckers in the room. What's that gonna be? 200? Fucking what, near over 300 grand? I think that's what I was looking at. Unless that was a fucking misprint, unless they mean 17,000, which still is a fucking hefty amount of fucking, just for a fucking stupid 60-inch sub. I don't know what the fuck it was I was looking at. I forgot what the name it was. It's like you got Ascendo, and now you're getting other people jumping on this bandwagon mega gigantic cone sub bass. Oh, how fucking sad. You get a good result. You get similar results if you use multiple 18 and you just build them up in a cluster or mutual coupling, it's called. And then you get something that will then be an equivalent or maybe a little bit bigger because it depends on how many you put, where they're located. And, you got a cluster at the back, a cluster at the front. Maybe a cluster in the ceiling, a cluster in the floor. Depends on how the room is designed. But you don't play it, so you then balance the levels to equal the stage screen channel base. But you need so many of that just to solve this problem. But you take it outdoors, there's not much of a problem. The only problem is there's the amount of air that you got to move, which is quite a lot of it outside. Or you just think, no, sod it. Use some bass shakers. Because when you look at how many bass shakers, you can make an array of bass shakers, and you think they're going to cost so much. They're not as dear as buying a stupid single box 60-inch ass sub bass speaker. And you think you're just trying to push air of a sine wave tone or something of like 1 hertz. What the fuck's 1 hertz is almost gonna be what's that gonna feel like on a 60-inch? What's it gonna sound like? Is it gonna produce major harmonics or whatever, and is it gonna produce anything like something that sounds mechanical, like it's moving, a bass shaker, if it's overdone or mishandled or the way I test is I use a voltmeter connected to a bass shaker. And so I know the sine wave tone going into it, and it's producing a voltage level. And a bass shaker is also going to have a resonant frequency. Once it gets to a certain point in it, it's going to make a resonant frequency. You can put microphones pretty close to a bass shaker and test it, because it's still just like any other thing. You could put microphones near the seating and certain, really tight, close, and put maybe some blue tack around it to make a seal or something, and get really nitty gritty, as well as having an electrical frequency on the RTA, so you can see from the amplifier what it's doing, which would be the same as a sub bass speaker. Use the same amplifier, you get the same result. But usually, often, like I say, the frequency like come from the bass shaker, it's usually like this. But the result coming from a sub bass speaker would be something like that, because it's missing something. It's like what do you call it in that fucking stupid Jurassic movie, Jurassic Park, Mr. DNA, and you see him coming along. You see the DNA code, how it looks, and then he comes along, whoosh, and then plugs in another part of the DNA, which makes the chain or the connection. That's like it. That's like it with some subs. There's some part of the DNA of it which is missing, and you got to add another sub, but you got to, where do you put that sub? You got to move it around somewhere until it fits and slots like a jigsaw puzzle and makes up the whole uniform picture, because that's what you're making, is a picture with jigsaw puzzle and trying to fit the pieces in correctly. And it's just like sub bass. It's like you're going this way, you're going that way, and you're trying to like use the EQ, the PEQ filters, to try and see which one slots into place, or which one you should use, how much Q bandwidth that you should use, and gain reduction by turning it down slightly, until you get this flat result. Because the amplifier is flat. If you do the sine wave or do the frequency sweep on an amp, it should go flat across. But it's a little bit more than that, because you've got to test the sound card on the computer and run a loop, and then do a frequency sweep to see whether your sound card is flat, or it might have a roll off on the low end. If you got a roll off on the low end, then that is going to show up in your end result in your room, and it's going to throw you off target a little bit. So there's a filter, obviously, somewhere in the computer or somewhere on the sound card. There's some filtering going on where that roll off is taking down the frequency. But you could analyze it, and then you could put another filter. You can apply another filter to how many dB it is. It might be 6 dB roll off, maybe. And you maybe add another filter that's 6 dB and turn it up a little bit. But your sub is still going to roll off a little bit. Either way, it's going to have a little roll off. And if you get a flat response, what's it going to sound like? Well, that'll be with pink noise, okay, or sine wave tone, and you got flat response. But when you got a soundtrack playing, it's not going to play flat. It'll be nearish, but it's going to be completely random. The frequencies are going to be moving up and down. So I would say don't panic. And then you got to make sure then you get the rest of the speakers more or less similar. Because if you haven't, they will cause a masking effect and they will overwhelm the sub bass speaker. And it's not a case of turning it up, it's a case of getting everything set the same. And then you're just left to the mercy of the soundtrack mix, the music or the film soundtrack mix. You're left at the mercy of that then. Be whether it might be equally nicely balanced over the LCR or the left, center, right, the 5 screen speaker or whatever. You're just left to the mercy of that then. It's just the same in real life. We can't equalize it. I don't even think Denzel Washington has got shit on that. So anyway, he's just a fictional character, so he can fuck off. Yeah, it's just everything when we go around on a day basis is completely random frequency. It's the same in the soundtrack. It's not perfect. There are probably electronical ways to make things. I'm just inventing shit in my head. I suppose it's possible. So if you look at the frequency bands on a soundtrack, for example, let's say, oh god, where shall I start? Music? Not. I don't really like music. It depends. Well, what sort of music it is. If it's got pop singing and all that shit in it with lyrics, there is a lot of lousy shit out there today that's not even worth giving it the thumbs up. Not even the worth. Just walk away from it. But there is some fucking lousy shit out there you can't even understand. Lyrics that got so much fucking echo chamber sound effect on it, you can't even understand what the fuck they're singing. And sometimes rappers and all that, blah, 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 what the? Since when was I in the fucking jungle? What fucking language is that for crying? Why the talk, speak, linguish, English for crying out loud? What? I don't understand. Oh, fucking hell. They can write that shit, but they can't sing it. Yeah. And then you just got bad mixing engineers, and fuck it, they can't even balance the levels so you can understand the lyrics. It's not every compact disc is going to come with a fucking subtitle on it now. Guess it turn the subtitles on so I can fucking hear. Oh, maybe it comes with lyric sheet. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I still don't understand it. Yeah, you want to be understand vocals. You want to understand vocals like that, and the instrumental balance is done nicely. You can still hear the instrumental. You can play it loud, and everyone, their neighbours, everyone can fucking hear it. When it's just a load like, what the fuck are they? What language are they speaking? Anyway, never mind that. Anyway, so I'll just move on to something a little bit simplistic. Maybe film soundtracks, yeah. So, what if there was something like for all the say third octave EQ bands? I think there might be something out there. I don't know. It's possible there is an automatic balance control that reacts incredibly fast because sound moves at the speed of sound. Push, and it so you don't. It can minimize all these dB peaks, so to speak. When okay, I'll get to another point where some people talk about nuances. I can hear the nuances. What the fuck are they talking about? Can you explain or elaborate that? Are you talking about the differences between some music, sound effects, and dialogue that's happening. And if you get the frequencies balanced on the speaker, because if I were to say, for example, take a can I do this on my? I like to get my dummy head fixed, which is over there. My dummy head. I like to get that fixed. Oh yeah, I got some expandable foam. Yeah, so yeah, I can only use that shit maybe once or twice, maybe, because then the nozzle gets all what's it, and then the can's pretty useless to use. You know, you really got to use those expandable foam things in one go. Otherwise, it can clog up somewhere inside the nozzle, and it's like fucking hell. Got to throw the can away because you can squeeze it and squeeze it, but you might only get a little sound coming out, and what that basically is, you're using up the gas sort of thing, and then once that's depleted, you ain't gonna get shit out of that can. Yeah, so yeah, there it is. I like to get that dummy head fixed, and if I get my dummy head fixed, I should be able to put my headphones on it, and let's see. So I've got to be able to generate a. How am I going to do this? Can't do it through the. It's what I can't get shit through the Trinnov at the moment. I don't know where the headphone setting is on that thing. Usually, when you plug a headphone in, it should automatically turn off everything else in the electronics and go down to 2-channel. So you monitor it on the headphones, but there's some bloody weird setting on the Trinnov. I don't know. It doesn't make fucking sense. Can I do it through the computer? Can I do it through the computer? Just trying to think. I need a drink to do some thinking. Because if I can't get a result. I can't remember how I did the other result. How the fuck did I do the other one? Because I've done it before and did a frequency sweep on the headphone. How the fuck did I do that? That's a couple of years ago. How the fuck did I do that? It's obviously plugged into the. Was it plugged into the audio mixer to the computer? So all these tests and results are all applicable to the sub and tuning. Everything's applicable. Because you've got to get measurements. So I did it. I think I did it. I had the headphone can connected to. I can't remember if it was connected to the audio mixer with a Behringer microphone. And then what I did is put a towel over the headphone and then push the microphone in there. So I make a seal so to speak. So it's kind of like coupled, so coupled, so it won't air leak or such. And I repeated that sweep for both sides, but the frequency result, they kind of got this up and down sort of thing, but they were pretty smooth. But they just had this unusual hump sort of thing. And if you use the EQ and you can flatten it out, and then once that's flattened out, then put a little bit of high elevation in the frequency curve. So, for the high frequencies, so that we could just about perceive it. Otherwise, low frequencies and all that were okay. I think there was a little bit of a roll off on it. I can't exactly remember the actual procedure I did. I think it'll come back to me. Because I didn't exactly write it down or do a video of what I was doing. Maybe if I'd done a video, I'd think, oh, right, that's how I did it. I just can't fucking remember. Because if I get my dummy head fixed, I could put the headphones around on it. And then I've got to send the sine wave tone or the Room EQ Wizard's frequency sweep through each side independently. And then I'll get a result. And then I could probably compare that result if I can find my other graph, because I took pictures and a graph reading, screen captures. I took those. That's a few years ago. And I can compare, because the other microphones that are in the dummy head may have a slightly different frequency response curve response to the Behringer ECM 8000 microphone. Oh, there is so much to sub bass, believe me or not. There is so much to it. If you really want to get nitty gritty, and you really want to get down and get cracking, release the crack on. Yeah. You got to think, where in your room, where are those peaks being room gained, amplified by the room itself? I see my eyes are just looking around at the ceiling. Just looking around everywhere. It's like it's invisible. It's invisible. The only thing you could do, I tell you, doing this thing on your own is not easy. You need a partner. You need someone that shares the same common interest. And then it's like, one person's going to do this and the other's going to do that. Okay. You got to work as a team. So who's going to push the sub? Who's going to move it around? And I mean, move it around. You could get a small box, as long as you're producing the frequencies. It doesn't really matter what fucking size the fucking motherfucking thing is. 60-inch sub, really, honestly. You can't move those motherfuckers around a room easy. You'll be puffing and pushing, and you're probably going to get very little result out of it. And you're going to think, was it worth it for the fucking price? I'm not jealous. I just think it's just plain stupid, and I think there are manufacturers out there now that have just gotten seriously, grossly greedy. When you could do the same thing with smaller ones that got good frequency response, and you just make a mutual coupled sub base array, and it would maybe it's going to have a more larger cone size than a 60-inch, and the cost of the 60-inch is that price, and the cost of the cluster mutual coupling array is that much. What would you take? What would you pick? I'd definitely go with the cluster multi-coupling array than a single. Because it's the old technique. It's the old story. It's the old story, that goes back decades. Oh, you only need a single sub place. You can just place it anywhere in the room. That's what everybody was thought to believe. What's this is going back to the 1980s. And then somehow where it wasn't true. And now, it's like, it takes two subs to tango. Oh no, gotta use 4. But everyone's also chasing, like buying these subs, typically from these manufacturers, £500, $2,000, $4,000 at a fucking time. Fucking hell. You might as well just get a DIY one, build it cheap. You don't buy SVS at that price. You buy build and your DI ones at this much. Good result, and you just put an array around the room, and maybe have one sub, maybe one amplifier. That's a bit difficult, really, because of the impedance. Oh, go on, girl. Melanie, you're going to knock things over, girl. What are you doing there, Melanie? Uh-oh. What's she doing? What's she up to? What's she up to? Melanie, don't do anything weird. No. Oh, the fuck. I've got to get her off of that. She's trying to eat some fucking styrofoam. Come on, girl. Come on, girl. Go back in the kitchen. You're not eating styrofoam. No. You're not eating styrofoam. That's not good for you, girl. Get weird cats, you do. So if they're not interested in eating biscuits, they'll start eating styrofoam. Fucking hell. I forgot what I've got so distracted now with my cat. Yeah. I'm an hour 40 minutes into this. There is just a lot to it. I chase what I hear in the cinema, what I hear, heard, or felt. I chase that. To a certain degree, there is, sense around. I don't know about that, because there's two things now. There's that pink noise effect that you get on the other versions, and the new version, which seems a bit of a fuckery. Really, it seems. I don't know what to fucking believe, but the tone generator would have to receive a signal to trigger it, and then it generates tones. Is it generating sine wave or generating pink noise? That's narrowband filtered. I don't know. I can't remember. I'd have to fucking read the fucking literature shit information on that again, because how it sounded on the how it sounded felt on the that 4K. It was, plus the other thing which was distracting was this Atmos shit and the new sound effects added to it, which took me out of the picture completely. It's not like it was giving me a flashback. Um, and it's what does the actual outputs are like on the Sensorround Mod 2, the Mod 2 Sensorround. Are there free outputs on it? A single output on it? I don't know. I've seen pictures of it, but I've not seen a full diagram or schematic that shows. So I know it receives a pilot tone signal, and that activates the unit, and then yeah, because they're free sub bass speakers or free boxes in the auditorium. One very large one right at the front of in front of the screen, because that's where they placed them. They didn't place it behind the screen; they placed it slightly in front. And then two more that were different design boxes. Their design was different. Those were placed in the corners of the auditorium. So that's free. That's three of them. And the impression that I got from it, 1975, was kind of forward, backward, sort of, you know. That's what that's what I sort of recall, some sort of forward, backward motion. And it's possible, you could play sine wave tone or pink noise and have it in a sub at the front, one at the back of the room, and then shifting the variable phase control. And what would happen there is you'd notice this kind of movement until you stop rotating the variable phase, and then it just stays there, doesn't have any movement. Then you rotate it again, and it has this kind of forward motion that's kind of moving, waving, kind of like this. And then you stop it, and then it stays like that, or it might be at that frequency level. It depends where the variable phase, because when you adjust the phase, it changes the shift in the frequency. You can also do the same with time delay, but with time delay, the problem there is, what is the problem with time delay? Not a whole lot, really, until you set that time delay really at a very high level, or not a high level. Set the time delay at a very long time delay, and then if you turn the sine wave tone off, or the pink noise off, what you notice is one speaker stops first, and then you notice there's a slight delay in the other speaker, and then yeah. But I think it's a little bit better with the variable phase, and then you get this kind of rocking or forward backward motion sort of thing going on. But I can't do that all the time. If I play bloody Earthquake and then rotating, it just to me it'd be gimmicky. It'd be like fucking hell, I'd need to record it, put it into what's it, so it can play back, and then have a time code on everything so it plays in synchronization with the fucking disc. unless there's something automatic. I think there are some DSP things that you can get. I'm not sure if it's phase shifting, and it might be automatic and it's randomly shifting signal. There are some effects units that you can buy that could do certain things, but it's all, I don't know if it's going to work like, how does that THX thing, like say I talked about this the other day. I was rambling about this the other day about the THX decorrelation, um, the way it's shifting frequency. So if you play a mono matrix signal, so it's just complete mono, or a mono discrete, because I think it knows or senses when there's stereo surround, it switches off or something. Oh, Melanie's back in. I've got a problem, Houston. You're not going to eat any styrofoam, are you? Tell me you ain't going to eat any styrofoam there, Marnie. Mm. 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 Okay. All right. Okay. Weird cat. Weird. I think she's not kitten anymore. She's I don't know. I don't know whether to call her a girl or a lady, but she can be yeah. She's got some very strange habits. Don't you, girl? Um she likes playing with the vacuum cleaner. She likes that. So yeah, that's it. Give yourself a nice little wash there. Give yourself a nice little wash. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, give yourself a wash. Um, yeah, shifting, random shifting, phasing. Hmm. Hmm. That'd be something to try. Hmm. So many effects units. There's Roland, Yamaha, Lexicon. Oh, there's so many effects units out there you can buy, and some got all these different effects things on it. Like, yeah, I think pitch shifting or something. Hmm. Wonder if you could put it on a random, so it's continuously, and you can maybe change the timing on it, and so it go a bit faster or slower. You know. Hmm. Otherwise, the sense around thing. Yeah, the earthquake thing. It's yeah. Um, you don't have to have the same speakers, even though it would be applicable. But they just wouldn't fit in the home. Realistically, they just wouldn't fit. They're too damn large. That's why they've got to be large, so they go into an auditorium, and then the wavelength going out into the auditorium would be applicable to the whole thing. But that's like taking SBS subs and sticking them in a large cinema auditorium, and would they be able to be up to standards of the motion picture industry standards? Or is someone going to go barking fucking mad and say, get that fucking home theater shit out of this auditorium right fucking now? Um, Otherwise, it's strange when you see those trade shows and they got SVS, or they're doing in large shopping centres. You can see how open it is. So realistically, the subs should perform pretty well because there's not too many. They're not room boundary walls that are within a few feet of those subs. Everything's out pretty open, and they're right in the middle of so it's pretty open. The only boundary they're near to is the floor. If they thought about maybe raising those speakers off the floor a little bit, might get some different interesting result, as well as using matching speakers. None of this stupid center channel rubbish. Throw that out the window. It doesn't deserve, it has no place. Has no place. And then just also raising those speakers off the floor a little bit, because they're sat down there and everyone's standing up. So they're not going to be in line with the tweeter. Yeah. Has anyone seen those videos on SBS? The speakers are there, everyone's standing up at this height level. So the tweet, they'll hear the off axis slightly, but they're not going to get a total direct. So they'll just get a slight few dB less on the off axis. Plus, they're not those speakers and that sort of thing is not really a place. It doesn't deserve a place in the home cinema. They got to be. That's why cinema speakers, dub stage cinema, they've been the way they have been for decades. Horns, and then so you angle the horn so the sound beams over the audience, so you get a good reproduction, and the location. Because if I can spot it, I can't blame anyone else if you can't. Obviously, you are not listening. So if I can spot it, then yeah. And do I moan about it? Oh, only if it's playing at over 85 dBA and it starts to get to a point where I've got to put earplugs in. Because if you play high frequencies, extremely high, depending on what frequencies range, you will get high frequency hearing loss. It could do some damage to your hearing. Yeah. So maybe these, they should raise those speakers up a little bit higher off the floor. Make sure they got matching speakers and use a video projector, for crying out loud. Not these stupid OLEDs. Bloody hell. And even when I see these, I tell you, it's laughable. What the fuck was I watching the other night? Some PCM, they're called. I think they're a British speaker manufacturer. A bit kind of snobby, I think. Snobby. I saw some of those speakers years ago in a hi-fi shop, and this is back in the 1990s, I think, and it looked very snobby. Especially the hi-fi shop, very snobby. That's why they're audiophiles, isn't it? They're very snobby. Yeah, so I see this home theater room, and they do this demo, right? They do this demo of the video, so it's a direct sound of the recording that you can hear, and then they do an actual one, how it sounds in the room, and the room sounded terrible. It was all honky, reverbery. Oh dear, there was hardly any there was no absorbent material on the ceiling walls, and it just had this honky sound. Oh, how can anyone honestly just say, "Hey, can you stop this? What is going on with this honky sound in this room? I'm out of it. I'm not listening to this crap." And they try to market and sell those crappy rooms in these seedier shows, to people that probably haven't got trained listening ear, and they just think they want a home theater with all those fucking speakers, that storm processor, all that Trinov, that mad VR rubbish. Oh dear, how sad. I tell you, I would never go to a seedier show. Oh, well, I don't think they do them in the UK, but let's just say I wouldn't be seen dead at one of those seedier shows. No way. I would not waste my listening time with that shit. If they ain't going to treat the room properly, then they can keep it. I don't hear that in my room. It's all absorbed. Walls, ceiling, no slap echo, although there are some little reflections because I can still see around me. I'm not stupid, you know. You could have a room that's all absorbed and shit and have loads of tin cans placed around. What's going to happen? Sound's going to reflect onto it. I'm not a fucking idiot. But when I hear crappy rooms that sound like still sound like some crappy multiplex auditorium, and it's got that honky sound because I could see where the walls up front are completely bare, and that's where it's mostly going to reflect, and you get this honky sound. You listen on headphone cans, you don't hear it. Take the headphone cans off, and you think, what's going on with this room? Don't be afraid. Do not be afraid to put absorbent, the same wedged foam tiles or whatever it is. Do not be afraid to put it all over, literally the whole ceiling, the walls, because you shouldn't hear you shouldn't hear anything else other than the soundtrack. The soundtrack is going to provide reverberation effect, echo effect, and that is part of the illusion. And those direct frequency sounds that you should hear, they should come straight to your ear. They shouldn't be bouncing and reflecting off all the bloody walls randomly. And it's cheap. Well, it's cheap. You can go and buy all this other stupid shit that's pointless. Because if it was fucking really that necessary, don't you think George Lucas would have all that shit in his what's it room? Oh. And wouldn't this shit be outside in the real world? Fucking hell, look around my bedroom. Fuck's sake. Look around it. It's like a fucking tip. It's like a rubbish tip. See, I can slag off. I can slag my shit off, you know. I don't need anyone to point it out for me. Hoarding? I would think so. Hoarding. It's not funny. And it ain't fucking funny at all, fucking hoarding. I think electronic, home theatre, home cinema, fucking hoarding. Seriously, I think it is a serious sick disease. But if anyone wants any shit, because people want shit today, you know, especially today, they want shit. You know, I've got a few things for sale, maybe. Yeah. You got to be near. You got to be near. You got to be close. Oh yeah, I want some shit. Make me an offer. What are you scratching? Oh dear. See, I've got a sub-bass speaker there. Just there. Just down there. You can't hardly see it. It's just there. I don't know why I bought that. I really don't. I should have really double checked the dimensions and everything, and checked the extra dimensions underneath my cinema seat, because I didn't take into account the tilt angle. It's okay at the front because it's a bit higher, but the seat angles slightly a little bit, and when I tried to push this thing in, it just wouldn't fit because I didn't take into account to take the second measurement. Then I used it, placed it behind the seat, just tested it. So it's like one of these typical home theatre things where they just put a sub near the seat. And testing sine wave tone going through it stayed pretty uniform. It only drifted a little bit, but if I had to play the sine wave coming from elsewhere in the room from the subs or any other speaker, it would just move this way or move that way or go up this way. That it would do all that sort of movement. But when you got them pretty near, it stays pretty stable, but it's a little bit unrealistic because if you got people sitting in the other row behind, yeah, where are they going to put their feet? Got this fucking thing in the way, for crying out loud. So you do it with bass shakers, it's the same. You get the same result. It stays pretty much the same, even though with the subs at behind the seat, it will slightly. It should. You should notice what I notice in the seating on when testing. Was it Return of the Jedi? The Jabba the Hutt thing with Luke Skywalker, with where the don't underestimate my power. And then the trap door opens, and then the creature falls down, and then Luke Skywalker falls down into it. What I noticed when the creature fell, I noticed this bass wave thing that was kind of moving. It felt like I just swallowed some bass sound. It went down my throat, and it had a sick feeling to it. Really, it had a real sick feeling, and it's only because of the where the frequency is very quickly moving. And see, that's detail, that's information. You ain't going to get that on Shane Lee's channel or Youth Man's channel, like description of how the bass or how it felt. Typically to where maybe the subs are located in the room. I think when they're a little bit further back, maybe the result is going to change. It's going to not be the same, I will say. Or like the hatred cowboy guy. Oh God, you watch his videos, man. I tell you, he always says the word experience, sexual experience, and KFC experience, and I tried a Burger King experience. It's always bloody experience, bloody hell. Does he know any other words in the vocabulary that he could just? Because it sounds like George Lucas. Well, the technology, and we'll be using Tom's technology, and ILM will come along with some technology. It's always technology, technology. I probably say some things that I'm probably not even aware of. I just play back the video, and I think, fuck. I keep saying that sentence all over and over again. See, we're not perfect. We're flawed, and I admit to that. Can anyone else? Even God's flawed. Yeah, otherwise, don't you think he would have come down and saved us by now? He didn't save my cats, so all I could say to God is, fuck you. Didn't save my cats. Anyway, enough of him. Whoosh. See, she moves around like a ninja. Cats are perfect. Perfect. They are. By any other definition, they are. Wow. I tell you, if I come back, I want to be reincarnated as a cat, and then I can have servants feed me. Yeah, there's just so much to sub bass and all that. Hmm. It's the same with if you put a bass shaker on the seat, but the problem there is, okay, it's on the seat and such, and when you get out of the seat, you're decoupling yourself from that experience. I bought this one thing. I haven't even tested it yet. It's like a jetpack or something. You put it on your back, and you got the shoulder straps. It's like a rucksack. They made this in the 1980s, no, 1990s, I think. Um, it's in the room. I haven't even tested it yet, and it's quite a bit to connect it up, And they really designed it for gaming. Oh well, so anyway, I think if it can do game, it can do other things as well. But I put it on. I tried it. I didn't test it. I just put it on. It was fucking so uncomfortable. And I thought, I've got to sit down. I've got to sit in a seat. And then I tried it and I thought, no fucking way. That thing is just pushing into my back. No fucking way. Basically, it's just like putting a bass shaker and getting some string or something and tying it and then pulling it tight to your back. Yeah. And you feel it in the spinal area. No, no fucking way. That is not happening. I think this unit, or what, probably wasn't very popular because probably most people probably found it uncomfortable, maybe unnatural. Could be several things, and there's just bundles now on eBay. Um, so it's yeah. You got to get bass vibration in the floor. That's where you got to get it. You got to get in the floor. Great energy of it. So because our feet, our legs, whether you cross your leg, you always got one foot still laying on the floor. Then you put 2 feet on the floor, then you get more of the feel vibration. When you're sat on a seat in a bus or a vehicle, you're sat in the seat and you're feeling the vibration and your feet are on the floor. You lift your feet up, both feet up off the floor, you feel less vibration. You're still feeling it in because you're still in the seat and the seat is coupled to the floor and the vibration's going through the floor. Um, when we're walking around, we feel vibration. When you see actors and performers walking around, depending on how the mix is done and depending on the scenery. Is it on a wooden floor? Does it look like it's on a wooden floor? The type of footwear. Are they trying to aim for a result like, oh, let's try and make it like the audience can feel it, even if it's on a concrete floor, like in Last Crusade, um, where it's in one of those, what's it, where Indiana Jones and his old man, and they noticed the Nazi guy Donovan, and they're in that, what's it, and you got the female one walking around with the diary and that, and you can hear the Foley sound going along the carpet and then onto the untreated floor, and the different sounds in the textures and such. Um, but if it's on a wooden floor, you got to create create the effect like it's on a wooden floor. Um, but that's where those speakers are located and such. It's not going to be quite coupled to the floor, even if they're No, don't think, rule out. No home theatre speakers. Eh. Cinema speakers only. even in some cinema auditoriums, depending on whether they are substandard or THX ones or um, I suppose the signal coming from the Foley sometimes is not very detailed. Like you hear the Foley footsteps moving or walking, it might be in the center channel with some echo moving around on the left or right. But they don't have a sort of sound of like individual. Oh, I've got to check out my cat there. He's throwing shit around in the kitchen. He's getting senile. That's what he's doing. He's getting senile. There. Can you stop this? There. Stop doing this shit, will you, please? Stop it. Bring shit around you. Oh. You know, oh, yeah. Oh, oh dear. You know, another thing is like testing subwoofers, active, all this active rubbish, or whatever else there is. What I don't see on all these Shane Lees and Youthmans, Audioholics, oh yeah, Audioholic guy, yeah, he just gets that other guy to test it. But does he go? Does he actually test the electrical frequency response on the amplifier thing to see what if it's doing a roll off? Because if there's a roll off there, come on, face it, it's knocking down the rest of the frequency range. You know what I mean? And so you got to locate where on the schematic diagram that filter is. Put a switch on it. I wouldn't say just deactivate it. I would say just put a switch on it. You know, so you could toggle it on and off. So it's going to go from there, and then it's going to go to there. Flat response. Oh, that's more like it. Because when I test my subs, if electronically, it's going through the THX monitor, and I would see a slight roll off. And I think, okay, if there's a roll off, then I need to put a filter that to compensate it, just to bring it up. Because I haven't got a fucking clue where on the Behringer amplifier is, where that fucking filter is, and then it's like looking at the diagram, and then looking at the circuit board, and then thinking, right, I need to put I need to either make a maybe cut the circuit track or something, and then do some soldering, and then put a switch on it that I can turn on and off. You warranty you definitely will. Well, if it's a brand new, you definitely throw the warranty out the window because you made an modification to the circuit. The manufacturers know this shit. I don't know why they put a fucking filter there, honestly. but it's only rolling off so much. But there's two ways you can do it. If it's rolling off like that, then you can go along up a little bit further up and put another filter and then just bring it down, so to speak, until it sort of matches, until you got something that looks pretty flat going flat. So if you got a roll off going one way, and then you know, you just do something opposite and then just bring it down until it looks like it's going flat. And you just run a frequency sweep and you think, yeah, that's okay. But you got a few minus dB, drop off, and all you do, turn up the level on the amplifier because you've still got plenty of amplifier power there. You're not going to need it all, not just play some stupid movie or brag like I'm using fucking 10,000 kilowatt, literally max. No, that's bullshit. No one uses that amount of power. It would be absolute deafening. And you'll heat up the fucking voice coil on the fucking sub and you'll fucking wreck it. No one you just use that power is just there for headroom. It's not there just to play continuous at the same fucking level. You burn the voice coil out. You fuck your speaker up. You fuck your amplifier up. It get too hot. Mm. I think back in the days with those nightclubs and such, I think they should have took. I'm not sure if they did take into account the room volume size. Some of the frequency level might be a little bit too much because it's being amplified artificially by the room, and so you're getting a false number. Um, and then you got people, that are going to be, I don't know, this thing's just played very worst fucking place you could go to, and they don't exactly provide you with earplugs when you're going into those places where legally they should be providing earplugs. If you don't, if you haven't brought your own earplugs along, they should be providing them, because you're going into an environment that's completely unsafe for your hearing. It's like going into that idiot's bloody home theatre and you got to sign this fictitious waiver. Surely that can't be legal, that thing he's got. There's got to be some bullshit there. Just hype. That's probably why the Guinness Book of Records denied his, what's it, for like the world's loudest Atmos home theatre. No one cares really, because someone else would just look at that and think, oh, I could do one that's maybe 200 decibel. But who's ever heard of 200? No, that'll damage your hearing. Idiots. Like I say, if you put something close and how you do it, and get bass frequencies to be felt like, that you could say, well, I've been to this cinema before and that cinema, and I haven't felt anything near to this. Maybe it's their budget. Maybe they're just following some bullshit society motion picture television engineer or CES or AES bloody fucking nonsense uh, bloody thing, you know. Because when you go to these big crappy IMAX cinemas, does it feel like you're getting mechanical vibration? No. THX ones? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about that, because I can definitely remember the experience of Star Trek 4: The Voyage Home in THX 70mm at the Empire. Because traveling on the coach was early hours in the morning. Got there Leicester Square probably I think just around somewhere around 9 o'clock, 9:30 or something or whatever. So it was the show time, opening time would have been 11. I think 11 o'clock. So by the time I got there, I just saw probably about 20 so people just ready, to queue up first in, whatever. And I already got my seat ticket booked, so I know where I was going to sit. So middle of the auditorium, centre line, BB 22 or 23 seat, I think it was. I wanted the row slightly in front, which is AA, but it's only about 25 inches in front of me. I don't think I'm going to be, BB level is going to be a tiny trifle. You ain't going to notice it too much. Fucking hell. And the stereo width, from what I heard with Last Crusade, I thought was pretty good. Because I thought it was bloody big and bold when I was in 1, 2, 3, 4. I think the fourth or fifth row in the lower stalls, and it was still pretty near to the screen, but not too far away. But no, still many meters or such. But oh wow, it was. Oh, I'll tell you about the experience with Last Crusade. The experience when the holy water grail. They get the holy water grail, and then he pours it on the wound of his father where he's been shot. And then when the music score was coming in with the John Williams score, because it was mostly a music score, I felt this down here. I felt something pinching me in the bass signal. Where in the frequency? I know I could play the scene over and over today because I know the level is in the front, left, right in the music score. It's not in the center channel. It's where he pours the water. Oh god, my cat bear is up to things again. Oh. Bear, will you stop this? Melanie, get out of there. Get out of there. Out, out. Right there. There. Wait. Stop doing this, will you? You stop doing this. Stop doing this, Bear. Right now. Come on, stop it. You, girl? No. No, Melanie. Come on. Here. Melanie. Oh. it's a major bear issue. It's all part of the experience. The cat experience. Oh, yeah. But, where I was located in the auditorium, so I was located in the lower stall. I tell you, every time in that movie had an Indiana Jones punch. I call it the indie punch. The indie punch. Fucking it rocked me back in the rocker seat, it did. Just freaking hit me, the energy. Just hit me in the over the body, just hit me. And usually you'd get startled and you think, that's why they got rocker seats, I guess, because if it were ordinary seats, I don't think they'd last very long. They'd probably get broken because they won't flex very easily like the rocker seat does. And so I give Indiana Jones a rocker indie punch 10 plus. Damn, was that brilliant. That's an experience. And then you think the size of the auditorium and the size of the screen. So you got to match the sound to the size of the screen. Yeah. But I swear he poured the water on the Holy Grail water and I felt this pinching. I felt something pinching down here. It could be something to do with wearing jeans and a belt. And maybe the way the bass waves were pushing and such. And, I felt something. It could have been acoustical. It could have been something that's maybe acoustical, but it's pressing against something. And I felt this pinch effect. That's all right. That's my report on the lowest. Whether that, so could I remember it when I was in the middle row? Not really. I only remember it in the first row. I only know that I wanted to move a bit further back because it's the first time experiencing THX JBL system firsthand. And it was fucking out of this world. It was fucking unbelievable. Directional bass. Wow. Everyone talks about this directional bass like it's a myth. It is not a myth. It fucking exists. Fucking hell. I suppose when the tank and it goes over the cliff and then hits the fucking hell when that bloody hell. I thought, yes, go a bit further back. It still flipping hit me when that tank went over the flipping cliff. Flipping heck. It does that in the room. It goes over, it gives that nice JBL. Boom! And when you think about it, if you was actually there watching that tank coming over, I think you'd just hear it. It ain't going to shake. It's probably not going to hit you in the chest or any of that because you'll be a bit of distance away from it for safety, but you'll just hear it. That's all. It wouldn't go boom like that. No. But they do that in movies because they got to bullshit some of the sound a little bit. I tell you, the most impressive bass sound is probably when Captain Kirk puts his feet up on a little seat rest sort of thing in Star Trek 2, where just at the probably about 10 minutes into the movie, I think, where Dr. McCoy, is in his living room, and he puts one foot up there, and then does that. that was very impressive from about 20 meters back from the front row. So what was it? I'm not sure if I jumped into the AA row because I was just looking around who the fuck was coming in that morning, and I probably jumped from the seat row that I was supposed to be in, and I climbed over the seats or something into so I was just a little bit more forward in the circle row. Um, because not there wasn't many. I noticed other people during the day. Other people were coming in, buying ticket and then coming in for that Star Trek 70 millimeter THX JBL experience. But I'll tell you, it was a very impressive. Captain Kirk, who does that, puts his foot up there and then poof, does that. You watch the movie Star Trek 2, and that sound, I feel it in my chest. Normally, in reality, that would never happen. Period. It would never happen. Period. You could be sat in a room having a conversation with someone. Someone does that and does that. You hear the sound, but you ain't gonna fucking feel it hitting you in the chest. That was impressive. That is what the ability of the THX sound system means, the experience. I don't think, it's very hard to achieve that effect. It is by no means easy. It is by no means easy. You risk, if you want to try playing that scene and try and think, but you wouldn't know. You wouldn't have a fucking clue with your home theatres because you haven't been to the Empire Leicester Square. Probably went to another cinema, probably never heard it. No, probably never felt it, but you never felt it. So that's what I mean. You heard it, but you didn't feel it. Because I've seen that movie 70 millimeter on its first day. I think they showed it 70 millimeter at the local in the ABC. And then when it doesn't show in the main screen, goes into the smaller ones, there'll be probably 35 millimeter Dolby stereo or maybe 35 millimeter mono. Depends on the time when they bought themselves another cinema decoder, Dolby stereo processor or such. And then they got another Dolby stereo auditorium and such. That's it. I always heard it, but I never felt it like that. And I thought, wow, the THX has really got some fucking ability. It is by no means a fucking bass slouch. And it sounded natural. It didn't seem like blasting my fucking ears out, or blasting my fucking ears inwards. Yeah. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And then when the Klingons on the starboard bow, they kill Captain Kirk's son. They're walking behind him. And then he gets the knife, takes it out, holds it like that, and then presses a button on it and then retracts the knife so it goes ching. Boom, felt that in the chest. Felt that in the chest. THX, Empire Leicester Square. Spot on. And it was all directional bass. 20 meters back, and I'm listening, I'm observing the screen. I'm completely in awe. Fucking gobsmacked. And when the Klingon stabs him, you feel that in the chest. That cringe. That made me cringe. That did. And then when Captain Kirk, he knows the Klingons have killed him, and he kind of stumbles back and then falls against the captain's chair. You could feel that in the Foley. It felt so live, but bigger than life. fucking hell, they had that sorted out there. Fucking brilliant. Brilliant. And then when the planet's all Genesis quaking, not like Genesis Arc EQ, but when it's fucking quaking, fucking hell. And then the Klingon tries to pull Captain Kirk over the cliff, you know, and then Captain Kirk's kind of going like this, dude. I think, oh, I don't want to do this, but oh no, I've got fucking hell, fuck the Klingon. And he starts kicking him in the face. I have had enough. Every time, you feel it boom in your chest, boom, and then another big boom. Fucking hell, that is THX sound system. Fucking hell. See, I can remember all that. 36 years ago. 36 years ago. I'll say that again. 36 years ago. Because I eat, live, breathe sound. Everyone else with their home theatre, they don't eat, live, breathe it. They just want to have a home theatre just so they think to show off to their neighbour. Oh, I've got a Trinov. Oh, yes, so what? I've got a Marantz. What else can it do? I tell you, it take quite a bit of effort to get that effect. And you probably need more than just a few speakers for the screen speakers, because the Empire was running 15 bass channels for the center, the left center, the right center, the left channel, the right 20. And depending on what format mode is being used, and they look at the film print on the can and they say, okay, it's format this and that. And so they know what to program into the Dolby CP200. So that format 42. No format 44, format 43 was used that day. They were all format 42, format 04, and format 43, format 42. Or actually, that's not quite true, because I think one of them would have been SR soundtrack or such. So that's a different format number, but it's generally the same speaker positions. It's just a different number because of the code of the SR soundtrack. So you got A type noise reduction in code, and you got SR encode soundtrack. And depending whether or not they had between shows, maybe take the A cards out of the processor and plug in the SR cards, because there had only been a few. I think Star Trek 4, I'm not sure if that was SR. I think that would have been SR. Star Trek 5 SR, although you can use A-type cards. And it just differences in the frequency response, playback, greater bass response, and so forth. Probably why Star Trek 5 got even more fucking bass powerful. Fucking hell. Yeah. But even Star Trek 2 again, Star Trek 2, where Mr. Spock's in the engineering, and Captain Kirk goes down there, and then Mr. Spock is walking towards because he's almost blinded because of the radiation, and he bumps into the door. You can even feel that boom. You can feel that boom over your body. It's like being in the character, sort of thing. It was so memorable experience. That's what experience is. And I've just told you. Now you're going to think, which version of Star Trek 2 have I got? Which have I got? The Blu-ray, the 4K, the DVD, the Laserdisc. And you think, how am I going to do that? Don't try it if you've got a small center channel. You'll just wreck it. Don't divert the bass into the sub bass. That's not how it's done. If you got small speakers, then you got to like reconfigure the frequency response on them, and just have that just have that sub play LFE. Unless, of course, it's Dolby Stereo 424 matrix where they use OBE, optical bass extension, or bass extension, where it just takes the bass from the all the other channels and could divert it. That's how it's properly done in cinema. And the LFE should play on its own. Otherwise, you're going to over taxi and you'll get smearing effects in the bass where you wouldn't be able to tell where the LFE is present or active or unpresent, whatever. You won't be able to tell. You get frequency masking. But you do still get frequency masking when you're playing the whole thing. You got to make sure you get the balances of the frequency smoothly correct. So if the sub is doing this roll off curve, but it's a little bit more than that. You've got to actually listen to the tone of the pink noise versus the tone of the pink noise in the lower frequencies. Even though you can't generate the lows, you have to generate that on the Room EQ Wizard. You have to use the custom mode, and then you filter the pink noise at a certain level, so it's going to make a rumble sound. Then you compare that with the LCR speakers, how it rumbles, yeah, versus how the sub is rumbling, and they might have some different tones, and you've got to get those tones to be almost similar, theoretically. And then you play it full. It's a little bit more than until you get everything, so it seems to merge and work. And the sub, the LFE, it should only play within a few dB of the other channels, not blasting it out at bloody 20 dB hot. Otherwise, it's going to be like that versus the other speakers like that, and it's just not going to work. It'll just overwhelm, and you won't be able. You'll be missing all the other bass because you'll only be hearing or feeling just LFE signal, just exaggerated, and it just won't work. Yeah, but all that time warp on Star Trek 4, the time warp. Yeah, that's it, the vibration now. I was like, I swear, it was like the vibration of being on the coach and feeling mechanical vibration. I'll tell you, that Empire original THX sound system was sorted. It was brilliant with 70mm. Brilliant. That was an experience. Unlike, and very unlikely I would notice anything like that again. I'm crying. See, that was an experience. Kind of felt it there, you know what I mean? But you can hear it, but you have to do it yourself to experience it. I'm taking the piss out of that guy, aren't I? I'm taking the piss out of that other guy, aren't I? Experience. Because another thing is about experience, you can move or shuffle around a little bit in your seat. Are you going to feel the same thing in the exact same position again? The chances are it's going to be maybe a little different. It's a different experience. You got to do so under very tight, stringent, scientific conditions. so that you literally repeating something that is literally first time, second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time, repeatable experience. Um, yeah, I'm afraid that's the facts of the life of sub. See, I've accumulated all this information over decades. You can see whether I'm bullshitting or is there any truth or fact, or is it just myth? I'm afraid it just is what it is. It's like, you know, um, I could say some things here, but I don't think I want to say it. I'll say something else. It's like when we sneeze, hatchet. It's always a different experience, you know. Can't feels the same, but it's probably never, you know, because it's very difficult. It's over and very fast, you know. Um, or if you have a toothache, I think everyone can concur on this that we know what it feels like. Very knowing and radiating sort of thing. It kind of moves. It kind of flows like, you know, radiates. Yeah, the nerve in the tooth is damaged. You know, I'm afraid it's got to come out. Um, and then you just get a numbing thing. Well, yeah, that's over in a couple of hours or so. You know, you got to put some soft tissue there and such. You know, drink soup for maybe a few days and so, because you can't have anything else. Just have some soup and it'll numb it and cure it. Yeah. Um, what else? Headaches. They kind of move and radiate and circulate. What causes those? That's very interesting. Last time I had a headache, a headache. I can't even remember. I don't think it was this year. Might have been last year. Yeah, it might have been last year. And I think I was overdoing something or working something. And that's strange. In which way do I have to overwork something to get a headache? Hmm. And the simple solution is just take a break from it, go and relax, calm down, and it will dissipate. And then you can go back to whatever it is you were doing. That's an experience, yeah. Um, do we often hear the same high frequency sound in the same position? Maybe similar. You know, it's getting high frequency sound to reproduction. That's like I say, the playback of the HF horns, or you know, they got to be rigorously tested so that they give a going across the you know, but it's never going to be quite, you know, because where they're spread out individually, so the sound is always going to, when it goes from one to the other, you know, there's going to be a little, you know, something else within the room that might be adjusting, but it's a very tricky thing to align. So I go with microphones pretty close to the screen, get the frequency response where it's all wiggly too much, and get it as flat as I can with the amount of EQ filters that I've got on hand. Um, even though I think you need quite a lot of filters to adjust very fine precision. Once that's done, then add the microphone just a little back, a bit further back, just to see what the other result looks like. And it may say need slight additional adjusting until it sounds like rather than going and then you know that there's something. Oh, it's either something in the between the ceiling, the floor, maybe the seating, somewhere over to the side. There might be somewhere that where the sound is coming to our ear, where the sound is going, and then the reflection coming back, and it's somewhere it's causing a slight rise or a dip. Same issues, and they just need to be checked, tested until they sound consistent. I think there is a thing where you get a steady. I think I got it on a CD disc. Why did I put that CD disc? Because it's got a very slow pink noise signal where it's going, and I think it cycles into the surround. I think it does a cycle where it then goes from positive signal and then goes into negative signal, where it would go into a matrix decoder. Otherwise, when you generate pink noise on the processors or such, it's either there or there, or you can generate it on all speakers at the same time. But you need a soft cycle going through, so it sounds like that, not going like that. You think, oh, what's going on there? It's up and down. It should be going smooth, ideally, because if you listen to it on headphone cans, you'd hear it going smooth with not much noticeable change in where. Oh yeah, I think there is where the would it work with 5 screen? Well, I don't know. I don't know where that CD disc is. Somewhere it's got. I think it's over there somewhere. Unless I can find the signal like that on YouTube. What would it be called? Slow cycle, pink noise. Might be. Might be. Might be. It's possible. Hang on. Let's try. Don't think I can find anything. It's just pink noise, this pink noise, that. I just have to look for the CD disc. I think that CD disc would be encoded PCM. Yeah, yeah. So the pink noise cycles very slowly. And I should notice the change. And if I notice anything slightly out of place, then I'll make a correction, depending on which frequency bands need correcting until it sounds consistent. It's easy to generate pink noise, so it's static and it goes on one channel, and then you turn that channel off and then put it on the other channel and then analyze moving the microphone as well. Because you're not going to be sat in the same position all the time, so you're going to be slightly doing this with your head, maybe shifting your body, whatever. You're going to make a slight movement, and any slight movement you got to just check to see what the variables are, to see how far plus and minus, because there's going to be some plus minus variable, and you just got to check until it looks okay. Yeah, that's acceptable. You don't want too much going down too low or too much too high, otherwise it's your gain. You wouldn't the timbre matching, it just wouldn't match. Even though on the DVD, Star Trek or Blu-ray or whatever, I think there is something a little bit. I'm not sure if it could be a fault sound mix error or something of the sort. It's where Captain Kirk comes through the turbo door on the center stage, and then as the camera moves one way, the tracking him, it's pan, and then the doors close. They got a bit more of a slightly higher sound in the frequency. It doesn't seem to like sound match to when the doors open and the camera's near. Yeah. So I'm not sure if that's an error, maybe, or such. Could be soundtrack mag. Could be soundtrack mag snag issue. Maybe because the magnetic tracks have got to be perfect. When they've been read and everything's got to be spot on. They should be. That's what an engineer would do. They would check, make sure everything. Probably test it with a test film or such. See that they all got the same response on the mag track, and then you got the film, and then load it, and then it should be yeah. Hmm. Hmm. I think the interesting thing is with bass, how much of it was on Star Trek 4 or Star Trek 5, how much was stage bass and how much was LF or baby boom, because it plays on an array of subs on the baby boom when the Klingon belches. Kid, that felt like a bloody earthquake going through the auditorium. That was hilarious. Oh, the audience just burst out laughing, whether they thought the film was dumb or they just think, oh, that's funny, because you're literally feeling the flipping thing go through the auditorium. If it was being on maybe a mono movie, then a little bit, but flipping THR, flipping it reverberated. And the interesting thing about all this frequency filtering that they're doing on all these DVD, Blu-ray, you name it, fucking 4K shit. I wouldn't be surprised there was some shit. That's why Tron last night, the Blu-ray 4K, the Tron 4K disc ended up in the cat litter. It had distracting sound in it. It wasn't an experience. It was nothing more than a distraction. So Bush cat litter. But back to Star Trek 5 because that's more important than the Tron 4K. I'll just stick with the Tron Blu-ray from now on. I don't care for the Atmos effect thing that they were throwing in overhead. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Okay, back to Klingon. So between the different versions of DVD that have been released over the years before they did the Blu-ray and the 4K, there's only one version or such that is worthwhile playing. And I think that's the early DVD edition. Because I did frequency analyzing on Spectrum Lab many years ago. I went through all the different languages: German, French, Italiano, Spanish, you name it. I went through all the DVDs. I think I had the Blu-ray version then, maybe not. But I got so many versions on DVD that they released over the years. And there was only one version that came, I would say, I would approve. All the other ones were just fucking awful because they were filtering off the low end on the Klingon when it belches. Plus a little bit more of also the bass frequency in the soundtrack. And when it got to one of the other versions, the dialogue panning had been fucked up. So it was like, I don't know what the fuck, what they are doing, what they're fucking smoking at Paramount Pictures today, but they made a real fuckery of it. And the only version that I will play is the very early edition DVD. I think I've only got that on. I'm not sure if it's Region 2. I'm not sure if I got the Region 1 DVD. I think I do. I think I got the Region 1. Because I got fed up with listening to Region 2 because it pitches sound 4% faster. And I just got fed up with those fucking things. And so I feel I'd probably got the Region 1 eventually. The early edition. So the 4K, cat litter. Especially all those other 4K shitty Star Treks Paramount released with that shameless fucking digital fake grain effect. Shame on them. Cat litter. Klingon. Star Trek 5. I mean, you really freaking felt it. Made your bowels move. And then when the Klingon warrior in Star Trek 5, the other Klingon, where he's in the spaceship, and they get received signal about Captain Kirk on the Enterprise and thinking, right, let's go and chase after them. And he does this warrior Klingon thing. Shuka or something. You felt it in your chest as well when he does that. It was perfect sync. Fucking hell, the speed of sound. Whoom. You feel it. It's like now the audiences are like participate with Klingon. That's an experience. That's an experience. I don't know which is the best experience. Captain Kirk putting his feet up, or Mr. Spock bumping into the door. I call it the Spock bump. The Spock bump. Yeah, 36 years ago. Fucking hell, I can still remember that. And it's only in a certain part of the frequency range. You know, you analyze it on RTA or Spectrum Lab. Each channel, or maybe the center channel, obviously in this part, it's be the center stage. Yeah, if you want to try that, I would exercise extreme caution, because you could end up fucking your amplifier up, fucking your speaker up, and you got to be able to play the rest of the soundtrack, which is going to be fucking, oh yeah. So you got to think, how's this done? Maybe some audio limiting, maybe somewhere is used. Because there's 20, there's 5, 15, no, 1, 2, 3, there's 4, 15 bass drivers. The bass drivers in those cabs will probably be the 22, 25s. And they're in big bass bins, big large bass bins in a THX baffle wall, or a baffle wall, because the baffle wall was invented in 1979 by someone in Australia. That's why Tom Holman, if you listen to some of these other interviews, some of them are very rare. Probably can't even find them now. Someone else has got them, but hasn't re-released them, because they were released many years ago. It's talking about every sort of thing, because he had to go through a shitload of literature and paperwork and all this to solve George Lucas's little problem. So it's how the baffle wall behind the screen in the Empire, how that was also weighted down and coupled to the floor. So how much acoustical or how much mechanical vibration you're getting off of it, how much acoustical, because it was perfect. Fucking hell. Sounded great with Time Cop in DTS years later. Time Cop there, going on those sled things, going into the time travel thing. Fucking hell. That was brilliant. And then, of course, all the Foley kick punches and all that later on, all those, wow. That was neat in THX. Cape Fear at the Empire Leicester Square in Dolby SR, near the where the scene where in the movie where he's in the kitchen, the private investigator is in the kitchen, and then Max Caddy has the piano wire, and then kills the private investigator in the kitchen, and the whole scene was moving around like this. It was so fucking confusing. And then suddenly there's this just huge bloody, because I didn't realize what that fucking sound was, and it was like bam, and it just rocked me back in the rocker's seat, like fucking hit me in the chest and rocked me back. What the fuck was that just when it happened? Of course, it was the gun that the PI had in his hand, and he was trying to get because I thought it was the piano wire effect, and I thought, whoa, it made me cringe. It certainly rocked me back, and that was just Dolby Stereo SR. Felt like fucking 70mm. That was an experience. And then the other experiences, but near the end of the movie, where they're on the Cape Fear thing, and right near to the end, where they start punching each other and they're throwing rocks. You could just feel the rock hitting, and boof, you rock back in the rocker seat. Or what about the other experience? Like where they go to the Cape Fear and he gets the anchor. He gets the anchor. He drops it off over the boat and it goes down, and you feel this deep bass subspace extension. Fucking hell. That was an experience. Flipping, it felt like flipping that. Or that bit in the music where they play that Cape Fear music. And it just where they go in towards the Cape, and you get this kind of ripply uh, visual effect. And then the bass just goes down, grouches down, fucking low. And you just feel it pressing against you. You hear the tone and feel it pressing against your body. That's an experience. Mm. Yeah. So yeah, I just have to find a day where I'm really into it at the moment, and I'm motivating myself. Set the mixing console up, and then just 17, 16, 16 or 17 microphones, and just place them around the room. I would prefer to have the 24 microphones, but I'll think about that. I'll think about that. I mean, 16, 17 microphones is, well, more than most. And just see what results I'm seeing, and then see what I think. Okay, maybe I need to subtract this frequency, because when I use this microphone here, just one microphone here, and it's only picking up a small proportion, you know. But when it's somewhere else with multiple microphones, all picking up the sound at the same time, I'm seeing something like this, and I'm thinking, which part do I subtract with the equalizer? Do I need to subtract it? Maybe it's an illusion. I mean, I could go down low. I mean, just about near 8 hertz, but that's rolling off just a little bit. I could easily do a bit more compensate, but the trouble is I don't want the sub bass cone on my JBLs doing all this stupid back and forth nonsense. Because if they do too much of that, I'm going to be able to hear there's something there. And if it sort of goes up a little bit too much extra by a tiny bit more voltage, they'll probably start. I'll probably start seeing harmonic frequencies popping up, and those are all boardable. So that means either turn down the frequency on the EQ or turn down the gain level. It's one or the other. One or the other. It can't be both. So it's like, what do I do? There's only so many EQ filters on the Trinnov. I think you could adjust. I'm not sure if you could throw in Q bandwidth on those FIR filters. On the Storm, you can dial in a Q bandwidth, and that go. And they put the new firmware on the Storm. They put the firmware so it originally the EQ only went down to 16 hertz, 16 hertz, and then they changed it with the new firmware so it could go down to, was it 8? Is it 10 or 8 hertz? Or was it 6? I can't remember. I know it went down pretty low. And I'm thinking, why did it go down that low? Why didn't they just go down a little bit right down to 1 hertz? Leave it at that, because, well, not that there's not much going on down at 1 hertz, I think, but other than noise or junk. And are you going to really honestly notice it? The answer is no, because the other frequencies and the bass frequency are going to be up here, and the other frequencies down in the infrasonic ones are going to be way down here, and they're not going to be noticeable, not unless you make a special EQ curve. But you got to just watch the levels and not really making that sub do too much of this, where it's going to make some mechanical, because it's moving, like, and it's not really doing a mechanical like this in the room. Not unless it's producing some bloody strange artifact. You don't want any artifacts, otherwise that's we shouldn't be hearing that. We shouldn't be hearing that sort of thing or noticing it. It should be almost something you can sense or feel. It's like if someone were trying to shake some sense into you and they're putting their hands on your shoulder and saying, get a grip, and you can just see this shaking motion, Yeah, it's quite a bit to it. And, you see all these explosions in movies, the experience. Know what I mean? The explosion experience. I look at how these things are in movies and I can see the shockwave. And I'm thinking, what sort of pyrotechnics are they using there? And I can see this shockwave. You watch very carefully. You can see a shockwave. So I suppose that's like, in some sense, like some air being greatly pushed, so sudden, and it creates this ripple, this shockwave effect that doesn't last long, but if you would put a candle, say some candles, and then you see this explosion shockwave, how many of the candles are going to get blown out by the shockwave? And you want it to be safe and realistically safe, not so that it's going to damage your hearing, because it's not worth it. So only idiots in home theaters want to do that sort of thing. Got to see, get your Spectrum lab, get your get a cinema booth monitor so you can monitor the output levels electronically. Otherwise, it's not easy. Back in the day when I was doing this test, Spectrum lab, everyone was probably plugging a cable in the back of their LFE sub thing, and that's all they were testing. And I thought, they're only showing a portion of what the output frequency response is doing. And I thought, okay, I'll go to the next level. And I had my had an audio mixer plugged into the AV receiver and such, patched in and such. So I could go through all the channels independently, quick, so I don't have to unplug leads and all that. And I just put up a load of, here's the left channel, here's the center, here's the right, here's the left surround, here's the right surround, and here's the LFE. And it's, that's what this disc is doing on the channel outputs. You see where the energy is very great and very, how it is, Yeah, get a booth monitor. Mm. Mm. 3 hours? Have I been rambling for 3 hours? How do I do it? Because all that I've been mentioning about, all this sub and shit, because that's all you lot out there care about. Unbelievable. I must be talking to a load of robots. Because I just automatically just do it. I can't just say that in just a few seconds. Because then I've just compressed 3 hour into a few seconds. And then you got to play it back in slow motion, because you compress the time. Yeah. Oh god. Bass shakers. I just like to have all my bass shakers in the floor. Yeah, fish and chips is still open, but if I just suddenly turn off, get dressed, head out, I can't do that because I'm expecting a delivery. What the fuck am I thinking? I could go across the road and get a fish and chips. That's not too bad. I mean, across the road and get fish and chips, but I can't. I've got to wait for delivery. Just got a craving thing for fish and chip. Haddock and some chip and maybe a batter sausage. Yeah, maybe tomorrow. First, maybe tomorrow I can go out and get a fish and chip. Go out tomorrow for fish and chips. Go to the regular. Go to the regular and get a real nice fish and chips. And after I have it, I come straight back home. I don't go think about want to go down to that Odeon BH2 and see some fucking crappy fucking woke movie. That's all they show there now. Woke movies with woke soundtrack. Even the soundtracks are woke bass and woke music. Everything woke. Unbelievable, unbelievable woke. Oh, yeah. Mm. 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 Don't work. Don't know, baby. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so many concept ideas. All these sub-bass speakers things, some people get cracking and they build these things. And what's it what's it going to be like in that room? And where is it? France, Germany? Someone's got this built this back in the late 90s, I think, or early 2000. Made a kind of sub bass chamber sort of thing that was underneath the floor, and then all the floor paneling goes on top. And it's all built out of bricks, and then wooden panels all made up, and then loaded with about 18 sub bass speakers or such. I wonder what that would have sounded or felt like. Hmm. Hmm. Would it make too much rattle sound in the room? Because you don't want to hear any rattle noises, because that ain't part of the soundtrack. It's not part of the sine wave tone. In fact, the idea is to hear the sine wave tone pure or such as it's possibly be, and not much in the way of resonant frequency as well. So you want to get it sort of like, bit of a gamble, really. But interesting to see whether something like that would work very well. Oh, oh, fucking hell. Oh, I'm going to make myself a toasty sandwich. Oh, oh, sub bass is exhausting. Exhausting. Noticing there. Got all this water, I don't know what to do with it there. No, mate, can you back up there? I don't do the same. Explain your experience. What was it like? Was it like Mr. Betsy? What was the experience? God. I had George Clooney experience wanking me off. Because it's sucking experience. George Clooney goes down on your cock and sucks it good for about 2 hours. It's just that stale and boring, this fucking toasted bread. Or at least with some fucking, or at least have my cock sucked up for 2 hours. It was like George Lucas's penis sucked up. Incorporation, George Lucas's big drug. Cocksucking experience. Exactly, Bear. Cocksucking. Cocksucking. Human cocksucking experience. Got this huge cocksucking experience. Huge cocksucking.